There are two really important things that we want to keep in mind when we're notating or writing down chords. First thing is we want to make sure that all the notes of the chords are very clearly vertically aligned. The second thing is we want to make sure that all of the stems are on the correct side and going in the correct direction. Let's start with a simple triad to begin with. And let's start with a simple triad that's going to be on F. So I need three notes. I need an F, an A, and a C. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write an F, or a notehead in the F line. I'm sorry, in the F space. I'm going to write a notehead in the A space, and I'm going to write a notehead in the C space. And I've done a pretty good job of aligning those vertically. So F, A, and C. Now, if I wanted to add a stem to these, which direction and where is the stem going to go? Well, this is sort of an extension of the rule that we have for stems with note heads. Remember, with stems with note heads, if the note head is below the line, the stem goes up. If the note head is above the third line, the stem goes down. Well, it's a similar thing with chords, but now we're going to sort of take an average. If the majority of the notes in the chord are below the line, the stem is going to go up, like this. If the majority of the notes in a chord are above the line, let me make a triad that's above the line here. The stem is going to go down, and that's not a very neat line right there. The stem is going to go down like this. And if the chord sits right over, if an equal number of notes in the chord are above and below the third line, we have the choice. We can go up or we can go down. Choice is up to us. Now, unlike single note heads, we don't have a specific length that we need a stem to be with chords. But usually we want to make sure that there's at least the interval of a fifth above. So for instance, if our top note in the chord is G, we want to make sure that we at least have a stem that's going to the D above it right here, something like this. Anything that's shorter is going to look too short. Anything that's much longer, though, if we went, up the full octave, that's going to look just too long. The only other problem we run into when we write chords or any kind of simultaneity, anytime we have two notes playing at the same time, is when we run into the interval of a second. Because notice, if I want to make the interval of a second, say an F to a G, there's not enough room on the staff to actually write a full F notehead and a G notehead without those overlapping. So what we have to do is we have to set off or offset one of those note heads. So for instance, if I wanted to write an F and a G, I might write them side by side like this. And we're going to follow that rule when we're writing a chord. So for instance, suppose I want to write a chord that has F, G, B, and D. These last three notes are going to be easy enough because those are just three notes separated by a third. But this second is gonna mess me up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write. This is a chord that ultimately the stem is going to go up because we have two notes that are below the below the third line and one note that's above the third line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write an F, a B, and a D right here. And then on the side opposite of that, I'm going to write the G. And then the stem is going to go up like this. So if all the notes are to the left of the stem, the second note of my second right here is going to go to the right of the stem like this. And again, if we were to go in the opposite direction, let's suppose we have a chord that is E, D, B, and G. Notice the stem is going to go down. So most of my notes are to the right of the stem, as they usually would be. But the second note of my second is going to be to the left of my stem like this. And that just gives us sort of a clear way to do this when we have seconds or small intervals like that. So as you're looking at music, as you're learning music and looking at music, take a look out for that anytime you see seconds or very closely packed intervals in chords, and take a notice of how they actually notate it. That's not everything you need to know about chords and notating chords, but that should get you started for the things that we're doing here.